where after months of suspense, of pressure and tariff threats, the US-India trade deadlock is finally over. And the announcement didn't come from the negotiators or the joint statements. It came straight from the US President Donald Trump himself. In a late-night political bombshell, US President revealed that a direct phone call with Prime Minister Narendra Modi sealed the long-pending trade deal with immediate effect. And here are the big takeaways from what Trump has announced so far. First, tariffs. Trump says that the US will now impose a reduced reciprocal tariff of 18% on Indian goods, down from 25%. For Indian exporters, this is a significant relief after months of uncertainty, especially for engineering goods, textiles, chemicals and auto components that depend heavily on the US market. Second, Russian oil penalty withdrawn. Washington has reportedly scrapped the additional 25% penalty earlier imposed on India over its purchase of Russian crude. According to US officials, this follows India's alleged commitment to scale back Russian oil imports and source more energy from the United States and possibly Venezuela. And this marks a clear retreat from August 2025, when Trump had threatened tariffs as high as 50% on Indian goods. Now third, energy and oil at the heart of the deal. Trump claims India has agreed to massively ramp up energy purchases from the United States, including oil, gas and coal. Energy, not manufacturing, appears to be in deal's strategic core, with the US positioning itself as a long-term supplier to India. Fourth, agriculture and market access. Trump has said that India will move towards zero tariffs and non-tariff barriers on US products, including agricultural goods. If true, this would mark a major shift for India's traditionally protected farm sector and is likely to trigger political and farmer-level pushback at home. So far, the government sources say that there is no compromise on the interest of the farmers. Sensitive sectors like agriculture and dairy that were protected continue to be protected. Fifth, the $500 billion claim. Trump asserts that Prime Minister Modi committed India to buying over $500 billion worth of US goods spanning energy, agriculture, technology and raw material. Prime Minister Modi has welcomed the tariff reduction, calling this a conversation with Donald Trump wonderful and thanking him for the 18% rate, but notably did not reference a trade deal, nor did the comment on oil purchases or Russian energy in his public post. The messaging gap is telling. And responding to the announcement, Sergio Gore took to platform X to underline the personal rapport between the two leaders and the strategic promise of the partnership. He wrote, and I quote, "President Trump genuinely considers Prime Minister Modi a great friend, and the relationship between the United States and India has limitless potential." India now enjoys one of the lowest tariff rates in Asia. At just 18%, India has edged ahead of key regional competitors, gaining a clear advantage in access to the American market. This has been a historic move, a milestone that has been long pending, but after months of suspense, pressure, doubts, the tariff threats that were looming large over the India-US relationship, the US-India trade deadlock is finally over. And the announcement didn't come from the negotiators per se or the parties involved, the representatives involved. It directly came from Donald Trump himself late last evening. This is definitely one of the most difficult deals that India was engaging in, especially with US not willing to bow out. But now the US president has revealed that a direct phone call was key with Prime Minister Narendra Modi that sealed the long-pending trade deal with immediate effect. Now, there are several important implications of this trade deal, many of them which are going to be beneficial for our Indian traders and manufacturers. At the very outset, let's talk about the tariff. Donald Trump has made it very clear that they will now impose a reduced reciprocal tariff of 18% on the Indian goods, which comes down from 25%. For the Indian exporters, this is a significant relief after months of uncertainty, especially for the engineering goods, textile, chemical and auto component sectors that depended heavily on the US market. But the question surrounding Russian oil, that is where what we're given to understand is the penalty that has been withdrawn, with Washington has decided to scrap the additional 25% penalty that was earlier imposed on India over its purchase of the crude from Russia. But according to the US officials now, this follows India's alleged commitment to scale back Russian oil imports and source more energy instead from United States and possibly from Venezuela. And this clearly marks a retreat from 2025 August, when Donald Trump had threatened tariffs as high as 50% on Indian goods.